Now, in building our model, what we want to do is we want to start to consider how we're actually going to build it. So what we need to do is we need to start to work with it and start to build it in a way that it's going to start to take form. So this could either be done by an additive process, so basically adding parts to the whole, or by subtractive, basically taking away parts of the whole. So if I want to, let's say, create, some sort of a piece of furniture, let's say. Okay, what I can do is I can start to work with little bits and pieces. Now, how do I get this over here? Now, as I said, what you can do is you can use the move gizmo, okay, or use 3D move. But the problem with this, and this is a limitation of the tool, is that when you go to grab it, it only constrains it to an axis, okay? It doesn't really position it according to our snaps. So that's the case where I would actually use the move tool, type in M for move, as we have been doing the whole semester, select my 3D object, select this endpoint and this endpoint, and now I can start to build the model that way. Okay, if I need to, again, I can use my 2D commands where I can select, click on hit copy, select my endpoint there, select it here, okay, and I can turn around and I can copy these objects and start to build it up like that. Now, if I ever need to edit my objects, okay, basically you'll notice that when I click on it, it comes with a series of grips, okay, and I can take those grips and I can move them and I can stretch them, and I can always edit them after the fact, okay, and we'll see, there are some types, there are times where it may vary. If I have a box like this, again, I can take this, I can click, on these snaps, okay, and I can, let's say 10 feet. What it did is, rather than stretching it, well, this thing is so scaled up that it actually stretched to 10 feet, but the 10 feet is actually pretty small, okay? So you can take this arrow, you can stretch it, and you can type in a command, okay? You can take this grip, and you can stretch it, and you can do the same thing. Or not the command, but I'm sorry, the dimension. Or you can take this arrow, okay, and you can extrude it up if need be. So we can say 100 feet, and it'll actually make it 100 feet more. We can also use our press pull, and we can extend more to it. Okay, and we can use a series of tools like that. Now, what I also want to show you is that we have what are called our booleans. And essentially, if you go to your solid editing, you can see that there's 3 buttons that's off to the side there. And there's your union, there's your subtract, and your intersect. And what this does is it allows us to take an object, okay, and combine them as we need to. So for example, let's use the first one. So this first one is solid union. So this one actually will take an object and another object and another object, as many as you select, hit enter, and it turns it into one object. Okay, the Achilles heel behind that is you'll see that where this object actually has all of its grips, allowing me to be able to stretch it and move it as I need to. If objects are unioned, then all they have is this move grip, okay, and they don't allow us to do any of the modification anymore. Okay, there is also the subtract tool. So for example, if I have a box and I want to subtract it out of my cup, okay, I'm going to click on subtract, select the first object, okay, and this is the object that I want to subtract from. Hit enter, select the object that I want to subtract, hit enter, and you'll see that it selects out of it. Okay, and again, if I select this, it still has that grip, so it doesn't allow it to be editable afterwards. Okay, what I can also do is I can determine the intersection of these two objects. So for example, if I have, again, another box, and I want to figure out what this intersection is, okay, if I click on these objects, so if I click on intersect, click this object, and hit enter, what it does is it gives me the result of those intersection points. Okay, and again, they treat them as one object that I can't, you know, work with individually. So that's, you know, basically the Boolean operations for that. And then if I ever want to stylize anything, okay, you'll see that there's a whole solid editing menu that we can start to work from. And we could also go to solids, and you'll see that there's all these options here, including I can fillet edges. So if I click on that, I can select an edge. And I can say the radius is, let's say, 100 feet, and it will round that edge for me. Okay, and all that does is, you know, it's my fillet edge. I select an edge that I want to fillet. Okay, and I have to type in, you know, since I already typed in 100 feet. Okay, and that's only because this model is so big. It'll still remember that, and I can hit enter, and it'll do it again. So you can see that it adds a little bit of a filleted edge so that, you know, it looks a little bit more comfortable. You know, for example, if this is a cushion as opposed to, you know, just being a straight box like that. With the other tools in the solid editing, you know, feel free to work with on your own. There's so many of them, I'm not going to go through them in this tutorial, but you'll find a lot of, you know, information on them online. But what I wanted to show you is one other thing, is that when you're looking to specifically affect one of your surfaces, okay, what you can do is you can actually hold down Control as you select them, and you'll see that these grips come up, okay, either for the face or either for the edge, and you can start to manipulate them that way. I mean, you see that I selected this edge and basically dragged it, and this was the resultant shape. So I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to give you, you know, exactly what you want the first time around, although it is kind of a cool shape. But you can start to kind of cycle through, you know, what you want to affect. So for example, a face of something, you know, there's a grip for the face of this. A grip, you know, if I click here, and this has my move gizmo as, you know, as defined by my selection, I can start to define those that way just by mousing over the grip and then using the selection gizmo that I choose and starting to work with it and adjust it as I need to.